Hey, good afternoon, welcome back to Lap of the World. I'm Richard, and as you may know from watching our last video, Liz and I just got back from the land of blown sand and salt spray that is Florida. And we've been blessed with a random 60-degree day in early February, so I kind of want to wash the car. But there's a problem. So every spring there's this flood of threads and questions on the NSX Facebook groups and the NSX Prime forums about people having misfires. You know, their car is all of a sudden stumbling, they don't know why, they need help. And for those of us who know, we'll look at the calendar and be like, this is about the first couple of warm days we've had in a while, and ask the question, did you wash the car? And I would say 9 out of 10 times, I think that's probably about accurate. I was going to say 8 out of 10, but I think it's really the vast majority of the time the answer is yes, I did. Why do you ask? And that's kind of why I'm out for a drive today. I'm headed over to see Mike Davis across the river here with Davis Design and Fabrication, who has developed a very efficient solution to this problem that you may not even know you had. The proximate cause of the problem is actually water ingress into these vents here, and what I think the community kind of commonly refers to as the rear window garnish. It's actually an engine bay vent. But I'm going to attempt to illustrate why the issue happens, you know, kind of what to avoid from a best practice standpoint when you're washing your car, and then we'll talk about what Mike's come up with as a solution. I've attempted to illustrate what can happen using a string of rope light as opposed to an actual stream of water so as to avoid the headaches that this can cause for myself. So as you can see, what happens is you spray your hose or your pressure washer, incidentally or otherwise, into this window garnish vent here. And what happens then is it passes straight through down here to this body work underneath it, and then it rolls off there and ends up further down in the engine bay. Now what you're looking at there is the rear bank valve cover, and on that rear bank valve cover there's a little plastic trim on which the end of the rope light is resting, and that is your coil pack cover. Now on the coil pack cover, on the top edge of that, which I'll put an arrow to right now, on the top edge of that, underneath your, on the inside top edge of that, there should be a little gasket, a little strip of rubber. However, in most cases, that's not sufficient for a measurable stream of water. So if you got a trickle or some, mist getting in there from just driving in the rain or something like that, it's typically not an issue. Most of the time, it's going to be your garden hose or your pressure washer that's going to put a significant enough volume of water to defeat that little seal on the top edge of the top edge of the coil cover, and you end up with water down in your plug wells, which causes arcing, which is why you get the misfire. Now, obviously, there's not much way to avoid this right now with the way the design is from the factory, because there's just a straight through flow from those vents into the engine bay. And on top of that, pardon my juggling the camera here, there's a screw hole here where this thing is affixed to the bodywork, and that is open. You can see my finger go straight through there, and you can tell that if you got a lot of water on that, like spraying directly under the window, the rear window, which does not actually seal against this surface. I have a bone stock engine cover and gasket and things like that, but none of that would prevent water, blown in through the finger hole here to lift the rear glass, or a directed pressure stream through here. There's nothing stopping it going straight down into here and out the bottom. As far as stuff flowing in here, if you've got a gentle rain, you do have the small lip that helps some. Perspective on that here, sorry. You do have the small lip that helps some, but it can only do so much. There have been a couple of solutions that have been come out for. There's one from, I think, I'm going to mess this up. I'll put it on the screen or correct myself, but RF Yamamoto, where you have a carbon fiber bit that goes underneath here and is almost like a gutter guard. So it basically creates a little sill that comes across and runs all the way across there, and then it deflects the water out that side. The problem, actually I shouldn't say the problem. I have not tested that piece. I will say the problem. The only problem with that one is it's carbon fiber and therefore costs about $200. However effective it is or not. Now, as I said before, I've only really seen this with car washes, so having a hose or a directed pressure stream. However, I did actually encounter the issue when we were in Florida at the the Rolex 24. There was enough, the car parked near the beach. The rain was driven directionally enough that it apparently got enough water down in there that I actually did have a little bit of a misfire when we started the car up to go and leave. Fortunately, it didn't seem to be very insistent upon itself and was only doing it at high load, low RPM, and it dried itself out after a couple of hours on the highway, and it hasn't come back. So that, but just shows that it can happen sort of out in nature and not just you washing your car. So now that we've talked about the problem and how that can happen, and this just sort of an inherent design flaw or oversight that can situationally cause you a headache with your NSX, let's talk about how we fix it. So for your $50 and some small change, here's what you get from Davis Design and Fabrication to solve this issue. You have a packet of, let's see if I can focus on these. You got a packet of small plugs. So it's not going to mold or mildew or anything like that. It's more or less what you'd get with the it's weather stripping material. So you have plugs that will go in the screw holes, fastener ports to keep water from running down into there. Then you have two strips of foam, both an upper and a lower seal, that will go along the both the edge of the plastic trim as well as on the bodywork underneath it, where the water, just sort of provides some, water, more substantial, I'll say, water deflection. So I'm going to get this all unpackaged, and we'll show you how it goes on. To ease installation, I went ahead and removed the plastic garnish and vent piece back here. And then I've also cleaned and degreased the path that this seal is going to follow once I put it on, because the lower seal here is just a self-adhesive strip of, is just a self-adhesive strip of closed cell foam that has been somewhat pre-bent to aid with installation. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and we'll take a look at it once I've got it stuck down, because I'll need both my hands to do this. Okay, so now we have the lower seal portion installed, coming across here and over up to there. I'll give you a video from the other side here in just a second as well. But as you can see, so this is the path that the water would have been flowing before. So it would have come down here, flowed over this lip, and then down where we don't want it. Now, any water that comes in here is going to hit this barrier and flow over here well to the outside of the valve cover and drop down. If I tilt this up enough, you'll be able to see the garage floor down there between the timing cover and the side bulkhead over here. So that should just go straight down to the ground again and be more of a manageable flow, as opposed to so much splashing coming directly over here and flowing straight down onto the coil covers. It is probably worth noting that the next step in the installation is going to need to be reinstalling the plastic trim / window garnish piece here. Because if you don't, then once you install the plugs in these holes, then you can no longer get to a couple of the screws that you need to affix the thing. But once that's done, the next thing I'm going to do is actually put the rear seal strip on. Now this one does not use adhesive. It actually, Mike has got it set up to where it actually just clips into place using using the existing lip as kind of a mechanical point of attachment. And then there's a rubber seal inside. It's like a C-channel thing. I'll see if I can get a close-up of it. So as you can see, there's a little tab here that will clip over the top of that existing factory lip. And then it's a little C-channel that goes around, and I don't know if you can tell with the lighting in here, but on the back side of this, there's actually a little bit of, some more foam or rubber stripping, which will keep water from running around underneath the thing. In addition to having the seal on the top, which will actually seal, it will seal this lip to the underside of the glass up here. So you'll actually have a complete seal from any water coming underneath the glass and coming over this upper lip as well. To me, personally, I don't think that's my main point of concern. However, it also does address the little handhole cut out back here, which has very little water protection in it and could actually accommodate a pretty big stream of water if, shot or blown from the wrong direction. For being included in the kit, I think it's a great extra peace of mind there. So I'm going to go ahead and clip that in. Right, so that was exceptionally easy. Now all we've got left to do is install these plugs. I am finding, again, kind of some order of operations notes that I probably should have done this before I put that the upper seal in. However, they are still smushing down in here just fine, so I'm not too concerned. That has definitely sealed that area. Now I do have some mild concerns about these holes in the end. Now they use for this, Mike has made a kind of a grommet style thing, so it has a groove in it that will catch on the plastic here. The adjuster knobs from the KW Variant 3s do sit pretty close to flush with that, so hopefully this will still go in and stop that out without causing too much issues. But the good news, it means I can do away with the kind of janky little rubber hats that I had on these. Okay, so there you have the complete install of the Davis Design and Fabrication Coil Guard weather strip kit. So you can see the lower guard down there, the upper guard up here, as well as the fastener well plugs on the top. The upper trim strip over here only goes across this half of the engine bay, which is really the only half I'm concerned about because that's where the coils are and that's what could cause the problems. Now, those of you who are obsessed with things matching, he does actually make or can provide for a small additional charge a matching upper trim strip for the other side of the engine compartment if you so desire. So some quick closing thoughts on the installation. I think it probably took me an hour and a half to do while I was filming myself. Had I just been a normal person not talking to a camera and just getting work done, that's probably a 15-minute install, maybe 30 minutes if you stop for a beer. How effective is it, or how effective is it as opposed to the more expensive carbon fiber option? I can't actually speak to that, so I'm not going to speculate. This one obviously, it helps my decision that it was, 1/4 the cost, and Mike lives across town, so I didn't even have to pay shipping for it. I did buy it, for the record. I did pay Davis Design and Fabrication for my kit, so there is no, apart from liking Mike as a person, I have no bias towards this at all. It was not a freebie. So I'm, I'm curious. And as far as, washing the car and things like that, as a best practice, I'm still not going to be directing the hose stream or pressure washer stream directly into those those vent holes back here, there could still be enough volume of water, especially with just an open hose, that it could overwhelm and spill over even the seal. But I think it's a real inexpensive peace of mind for, oops, I waved the pressure washer across it, or, I got stuck in a torrential downpour in the rain. Am I going to have to deal with a misfire that could be potentially harmful if it lasts a long time? Things like that. So again, it's one of those inexpensive peace of mind projects for a problem that has been sort of it's become almost a meme in the NSX community every spring. So anyway, before I ramble too much further, I think we're going to call it there, because having now installed this, I can feel a little bit more comfortable going and washing my car. So I'm going to get to doing that. I'm Richard, this is Lap of the World, and I'll see you in the next video, if not at the track.